Krishna.
Sorry.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaivam narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiyaya. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhakti naishiki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, Text 66. So we continue this discussion on the role of the mind in the transmigration of the soul, how the mind is basically the cause, for everything, cause for our happiness and distress in this world, and especially the cause for the repeated birth and death. That's the mind. Okay. Mana eva manushyasya.
Mana eva manusyasya.
Mana eva manusyasya.
Mana eva manusyasya.
Purva rupani shamsati.
Purva rupani samsati.
Purva rupani shamsati.
Purva rupani samsati.
Bhavishyatascha bhadranti.
Bhavishyatascha bhadranti.
Bhavishyatascha bhadranti.
Bhavishyatascha bhadranti.
Tathaivana bhavishyata.
Tathaivana bhavishyata.
Tathaivana bhavishyata.
Tathaivana bhavishyata.
Mana eva manusyasya.
Mana eva manusyasya.
Purva rupani shamsati.
Purva rupani samsati.
Bhavishyascha bhadranti.
Bhavishyatascha bhadranti.
Tathaivana bhavishyata.
Tathaivana bhavishyata.
Vaishnavis.
Manaiva manusyasya.
Manaiva manusyasya.
Purva rupani samsati.
Purva rupani shamsati.
Thank you. Bhavishyatascha bhadanti.
Bhavishyatascha bhadranti.
Taivana bhavishyata.
Tathaivana bhavishyata.
Mana eva manusyasya.
Mana eva manusyasya.
Purva rupani samsati.
Purva rupani samsati.
Vaivashyatascha bhadranti.
Bhavishyatascha bhadranti.
Tathaivana bhavishyata.
Tathaivana bhavishyata. Mana, the mind.
The mind.
Eva,
Eva.
certainly.
Certainly.
Manusyasya,
Manusyasya.
of a man.
Of the man.
Purva,
Purva.
past.
Past.
Rupani,
Rupani,
forms.
forms.
Shamsati
Shamsate
indicates.
indicates.
Bhavishyataha,
Vashyata,
of one who will take birth.
of one who will take birth.
Cha,
Cha,
also.
also.
Badram,
Badram,
good fortune.
good fortune.
Te,
Te,
unto you.
unto you.
Tata,
Ata,
thus.
thus.
Eva,
Eva,
certainly.
certainly.
Na,
Na,
not.
not.
Bhavishyataha,
Vashyata,
of one who will take birth.
of one who will take birth.
Translation purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. O King, all good fortune unto you. The mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with his association with material nature. According to one's mental composition, one can understand what the living entity was in his past life, as well as what kind of body he will have in the future. Thus the mind indicates the past and future bodies. Purport. The mind is the index of information about one's past and future lives. If a man is a devotee of the Lord, he cultivated devotional service in his previous life. Similarly, if one's mind is criminal, he was a criminal in his last life. In the same way, according to the mind, we can understand what will happen in a future life. In Bhagavad Gita 14:18 it is said, Urdvam gachanti sattvastha matye tishtanti rajasaha Chaganya guna vrittistha ado gachanti tamasaha. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upwards to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. If a person is in a mode of goodness, his mental activities will promote him to higher planetary system. Similarly, if he has a low mentality, his future life will be most abominable. The lives of the living entity in both the past and the future are indicated by the mental condition. Now the Muni is here in offering the king blessings of all good fortune so that the king will not desire anything or make plans for sense gratification. The king was engaged in fruitive ritualistic ceremonies because he hoped to get a better life in the future. Now the Muni desired him to give up all mental concoctions. As explained before, all bodies in heavenly planets and hellish planets arise from mental concoctions, and the sufferings and enjoyments of material life are simply on the mental platform. They take place on the chariot of the mind. The suffering and enjoyments, they take place on the chariot of the mind. Mana Rataha. It is therefore said, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvaya gunastatra samasta surahi haraf abhaktasya kuto mata guna mano raten asati tavatopani. One who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualification that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Bhagavad Gita 5:18-12. Unless one becomes a devotee of the Lord or becomes fully Krishna conscious, he will certainly hover on the mental platform and be promoted and degraded in different types of bodies. All qualities are considered good according to the material estimation actually have no value because these so-called good qualities will not save a person from the cycle of birth and death. The conclusion is that one should be without mental desire. Anya vilasita shunyam jnana karmadi anamritam. One should be fully free from material desires, philosophical speculation and fruitive activity. The best course for a human being is to favorably accept the transcendental devotional service of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of human life. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Vistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paritanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauravaktamrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. O King of all good fortune unto you, the mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with its association with material nature. According to one's mental composition, one can understand what the living entity was in his past life as well as what the kind of body he will have in the future. Thus, the mind indicates the past and the future bodies. Hare Krishna. So Narada Muni is blessing the king here. Prajini Bharat says, Badram te. Badram te means all good fortune unto you. And basically he indicates that Tatayana Bhavishyataha, of one who will take birth, no, not of one who will not take birth. Like if basically Narada Muni says, if you accept these teachings, if you understand this teaching, if you embrace the path of Bhakti Yoga, then you will not have to take birth again. That's my blessing. Narada Muni is saying, no, that's Padramte. You take this blessing and you don't take birth again if you understand these teachings. And what are the teachings? The mind is the cause for the repeated birth and death. Therefore one should focus the mind on Krishna. And here it says that according to one's mental composition, one can understand the living entity's past life and also future life. And we spoke about this on, when did I give class? Saturday? Yes. And we gave that analogy, or that saying that if you want to know your past, look into the mirror, and if you want to know your future, look at your present activities. And this is confirmed here, that when we look at the mind, the state of the mind is an indication of what we did in the past and what will happen to us in the future, just by understanding the mind. It's interesting, in Vedic astrology, Jyotish, which is understood to be kind of the eye of Veda, or the eye through which one can understand the world. An astrologer, he just looks at your chart, and he will certainly make sure to understand where is your moon placed. Moon represents the mind, and then of course I'm not an astrologer. There are a few other points, important things he will check, but an astrologer can very easily understand where you're coming from and where you're going to, just by understanding your mind, just understanding what is your mental situation. Sometimes you're surprised if in your past life you must have done this in the future, but actually it's quite scientific and it's easy in a sense that these are the laws of nature, and because it's the mind who creates the bodies. It's the mind who develops certain attachments, and in the subtle body, the way the subtle body forms, then the next gross body will according to the subtle body. That's how it works. And let us read the translation or the purport by Srila Vishnu Thakur on this shloka. First the translation. Let good fortune be on you. The mind of man indicates his past forms and his future forms, and indicates as well whether he will not take another birth at all. So not only can one understand where one comes from, where one will go, one can also understand whether this is the last life or not. Sometimes you go to an astrologer or to a palm leaf library, so they say, this is your last birth karma. It's good news, no? This is the last life, you just have to go through this, and that's the Ehrenrunde.
That's very interesting. Isn't it very dangerous that we just...
Of course, if you say, okay, now, my soul told me this is the last life, so now I can just relax and lay back and enjoy the last round. No, it's not like that. If an astrologer would say something like this, then he would understand that you are very sincere and that you're fixed and you really want to go back to God. That's why he says that. And then you're also kind of determined to go do it. Certainly we shouldn't be. Anyhow, commentary, Vishnu Thakur says, the present mental states inform us of the past and future inauspicious and auspicious bodies of the Jiva. The mind alone indicates the previous bodies of men by his display of ferocity, peacefulness, miserliness, and generosity. The present mind indicates he was this type of person previously. It also indicates what his future body will be. By seeing his knowledge and renunciation in the present body, one can understand that he had control of his senses and mind in previous body, that he will not be born in the future. Na bhavishyataha. He will be liberated. The mind indicates all this. The same mind which always remains in the subtle body does this. The mind is not produced again and again with each body. Let good fortune be unto you. This means understand this. It is a blessing out of Narada's mercy. So a few important things that Srila Vishnu Thakur highlights. So the same mind which always remains in the subtle body does this. The mind is not produced again and again. So what is produced again and again is the gross body, right? In each life we got a new gross body which was produced by our parents. But the mind always remains the same. It's always the same mind. And the mind has stored, as we also said last time, has stored all impressions from all previous lives. It's always the same mind. But according to his, how the mind is developing and to the association to the three gunas and his desires, then new material bodies are produced. Or if the mind really becomes purified in Krishna consciousness, then there will be no future birth. So we can see that the mind plays a very, very important role. And we also find this in 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, where there we have some description of the Avanti Brahmana. That's an interesting story, that Avanti Brahmana, he was a very miserly householder, and at some point he lost everything, and then some very deep renunciation came off. He had some deep realizations. He became very renounced, and then he was just like an avatut, and people would kind of mistreat him very badly, but he would remain completely equiposed. And he had some quite amazing realizations. Like here in this shloka, let me see. So he says here, the Brahmana said, because people would kind of really treat him badly, they would. Some of these persons would take away his sannyas root, and some water pot which he was using as a begging bowl. Some would sit on his steer seat, some his sorry, the page is not visible anymore. Anyway, they would treat him very badly in many different ways. So he says here, the Brahmana said, these people are not the cause of my happiness and distress, neither are the devatas, myself, the planets, my karma or time. Rather is the mind alone that causes happiness and distress and causes one to wander in samsara. So, sometimes if bad things happen, then we try to find who is the cause of it, and we may blame these people or that people or these circumstances, that circumstances. But here the Brahmana says, it's not the devatas, not some demigods who have an influence on me, it's not just my planets that have a bad influence of planets, or even my own karma, or the time factor, but it is the mind alone that causes happiness and distress. Not only that, it also causes the wandering in samsara. So it's quite a powerful statement. Then he continues, the powerful mind creates qualities in objects from which a person becomes inspired to act in sattva, tamas and rajas. Various types of bodies arise from the activities in each of these modes. Paramatma, my friend, though present with the jiva's mind, which is full of desires, is devoid of all material desires and actions, and simply observes. The jiva, however, accepts the mind, known as the subtle body, engaging in enjoyment because of association with actions created by the qualities in the mind, becomes bound. So the Paramatma is observing, but the Atma becomes completely bewildered. The senses are under the control of the mind, but the mind is not under the control of anything else. The mind is fearsome, stronger than the strongest. So one who controls the mind is a controller of all the senses. And failing to conquer this irrepressible enemy, the mind, whose urges are intolerable and which torments the heart, fools create useless quarrel with others. Thus they conclude that some people are their friends, some are their enemies, and some are indifferent to them. Persons identified with this body, which is simply the product of the material mind, are blind in their intelligence, thinking in terms of I and my. Because of their illusion of this is me and that is someone else, they wander in the endless samsara. Anyhow, it's quite a long description here, but you get some idea of how the mind is really the cause of one's taking birth again and again. So therefore, we are advised to control our minds, because, and here Prabhupada speaks of the those who do not have transcendental knowledge, those who are not devotees, they are hovering. What does hovering mean? Hovering means like, should I say hovering in Deutsch? Schweben. Eh? They're hovering on, what do they hover? They hover on the chariot of the mind, the manasa ratha. Mano rathena sati davato bahi. So they're hovering on the mental plane, and it's certain that they are attracted by the glaring material energy, by Maya. So sometimes we also say, "Oh Prabhu, you're mental. You're a bit mental today." So then we are hovering on the chariot of the mind, the chariot of the mind. We are running on the chariot of the mind. So yeah, it's good to be a little bit introspective and ask ourselves, how often do I hover on the chariot of the mind in my daily life? How much? And I think if you're honest, you can quite easily find out when we are on a mental plane and when we are actually on a Krishna conscious platform. No? And also the mind, because and what does it actually mean to be on the? What would you say? What does it mean to be mental? How is that? What does it mean to be mental? To be Maya, okay? But what is any further explanation? Imagine I'm just a person on the street and I'm asking you, what does it mean?
Spekulation.
Spekulation, okay. Yes. Speculation.
That we're not in the moment. As when we are doing something and when we are not in the moment but somewhere else with the mind actually.
Okay, we are not in the presence. Yeah, that's it. That's a good point. We are not in the presence. We are somewhere just thinking about something. We are not so focused or present. What else?
Скажи, что он всегда дуален. Он всегда мыслит в категориях белое, черное, плохое, хорошее. Он всегда дуален.
She says the mind is always in duality of black and white.
Yes, sankalpa vikalpa. The mind always says, I like this, I don't like this. And that's basically what it means to be on the Manasarathena. Because we take decisions according to the dictation of our mind. The mind tells us, the alarm clock in the morning, I don't like it. And the warm blanket, I like. And the cold shower, I don't like. And a little more sweet rice, I like, and more pizza, I like. But to go early to bed, I don't like. That's always the mind. No, it's always the mind who dictates. And to be on the Manarathena means that we are following that mind. No, we are very obedient, just doing whatever the mind tells us. That means we're on the mental platform.
It's flickering.
Yeah, the mind is very flickering, and not only flickering, the mind is very flickering, and the mind is also pagal. The mind is crazy. The mind is really crazy, and I don't know whether you have experienced this. Most probably you have, if you're honest and introspective. No, you can be in a very sacred moment, a very special situation, and all of a sudden the mind comes up with some very bad thoughts. Like the mind tells you, "Oh, why don't you could do this now?" And you're like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, "Who said this?" like very bad, I don't give you an example, but really bad, oh my God, who said this? No. Like mind. I'm like if you're a puchari, if you're on the altar, you worship the deities, and you have to really be pure. And if there's some stupid thought comes up, it's very embarrassing. Hearing puja, and all of a sudden you have some lost desires comes up. Like, oh my God, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Like the mind is crazy, it brings up ideas which are really not. No sane person would do this. What the mind sometimes suggests. Or I'm sure you have the experience. I was in New York. Then you have this Empire State Building. You go up, huge skyscraper building, and then you look down. What does the mind say?
Jump.
Jump. Have you made this experience?
Yes.
Huh? Crazy. Why would you jump? So what tells you inside? No. Why don't you jump? You could jump now.
Is that ghost influence?
This is the ghost influence. That is the crazy mind. The mind is really crazy. So if we understand, but now the conclusion is, if we understand that the mind is crazy, then why do we follow the mind all the time? But if the mind tells us jump from the building, we don't do it. But if the mind tells us, yeah, give me more pizza, we follow it. Very obedient. But it's the same stupid thing, So therefore we need to learn to control the mind. We really need to learn to, you know, go off the platform of mana palatena.
But she's also adding that the mind is always having an inner conversation itself.
Yes. Yes, you know, I really like this little radio that we have now with all the Prabhupada's lectures. You know, like, whenever I have to do something like, I don't know, going to the bathroom or ironing clothes or something, I just listen always to Prabhupada's lecture. Then at least, you know, you get some good, you get some, you know, spiritual sound vibration. Because if you don't have spiritual sound vibration, then you just have the chattering of your mind, you know, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, and why this person said this, and I'm not happy with that, and it's just like a tape going on, just going on. Not very useful usually. So it's interesting. That is the function of thinking, where you actually consciously think about something, you know, and that process is required. Of course, but most of the time there is no thinking going on. There is just a tape going with anxieties, with lamentation, with greed, with desires, which is quite useless. So, what I'm a little bit tired this morning, so instead of speaking, I ask you. So, what can we do? What does it mean to control the mind? What would you say? What can we practically do to control the mind?
I have a really good one for getting up. Actually, when we say the day before that we are going to Mamarapi, then and we are like determined at that point already, also that we go or not, and then it's easier to get up in the morning because then you you don't give the mind the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, very nice point.
Give you this choice of waking up or not.
That's called samskara. When we make a samskara, like the day before, we already make a samskara. Tomorrow I will get up early for Mangalarti and I will chant attentive rounds. Like we already kind of, we instruct the mind. You know, we tell the mind, this is what we are going to do tomorrow. And then when you get up in the morning, then the mind, oh yeah, we got the instruction, you have to get up. You know, it's kind of serious, now I have to get up. Yeah, that's powerful. That
You
helps.
just don't let yourself discuss with the mind, and the mind is always or mostly winning, but when you don't stop this discussion, it's better.
And also, if you, like coming to Mangalarti, you know, if you sometimes get up and sometimes you don't get up, then you give the mind kind of a little chance to, sometimes I go, sometimes I don't go. But if you just make a determination, I go always, then you don't have a discussion, you know, you just get up, ideally. Yes, so that means we actually, the inner dialogue, we have to preach to our mind. Now there's Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has written this book, Mana Shiksha, teachings to the own mind. And if you read the book, it's full of instructions to the mind. You know, it's like an inner dialogue. Now, dear mind, you don't do this, don't that, do this. It's like a inner discussion. So we certainly need to sharpen the intelligence, because the mind controls the senses, but the mind, here the Avanti Brahmana says, but the mind is not controlled by anyone. The mind has no master. The mind is just very powerful, the strongest of the strong. But then we need to subdue the mind with the intelligence. And that intelligence needs to be strengthened. And how do we strengthen the intelligence? Üben. Yes. Yes. üben and hearing. Yes, by reading Shastra and by hearing Shravanam. By hearing Krishna Katha, by hearing transcendental sound vibration and reading scriptures, then our mind becomes more strong. And of course,
so the intelligence becomes more strong.
Yes.
Get a shoe.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, yeah, says get a shoe. A shoe and a stick. Like in the morning, when you get up, you first beat your mind 100 times with the shoe, and in the evening you beat your mind 100 times with the stick. But how is it practically applied? You actually take a shoe. Maybe next distribution you can hand over everyone an old shoe and one stick to everyone. Then you can keep it next to the bed, and the alarm clocks get off, you take the shoe. Mangalarti, it's time for Mangalarti. 10.
Prabhupada's shoes.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Prabhupada shoes. Chappal, the mercy, the dust of Prabhupada's.
Okay.
That would be good, yeah. But what does it actually mean to beat the mind with the shoes?
Maybe Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was talking about samskaras. Like you wake up, you make samskaras for the day, and then before you go to sleep, you make samskaras for the next morning.
Yeah, it as far as I understand, it means that the intelligence takes charge and makes a strong decision. This is what we're going to do now. And also when we get up, what do? We stop the alarm clock and then we chant Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Premarupa. In the bed we kind of, whatever, in the bed or we get out, but we offer obeisances and then we chant the pranam mantras. This is how we start the day. Then we know, okay, yes, I'm a servant of Krishna. I'm meant to serve Krishna. Let's start the day. And that, like fixing the mind, that's the beating. And of course, mantra, japa, chanting the holy name. Mantra means manatraya, that which frees the mind. So by attentive japa, meditation, then we also learn. Because what do we do in the japa? We kind of fix the mind. We try to control the mind. We focus, we concentrate. So that in itself also helps us to become more strong. And of course then by associating with the holy name, the heart becomes purified and spiritualized. Yes, so these are all different ways to control the mind, and certainly we need to learn to, find this distance, because the problem is usually we very much identify with the mind. And I failed to prepare this, but I wanted to read something. I'm not sure that I can find it. Most probably not. But His Holiness Bhaktivinoda Goswami Maharaj says in his commentary to the Manashiksha, the problem with the mind is that the jiva, the soul, actually has given full authority to the mind. Like authority means like Vollmacht. The soul, we as a soul, we are like in a sleeping condition. The soul is covered. We are like, in a dormant sleeping stage. And then the soul says, okay, mind, you take care. You manage here the material life. And the mind is fully in charge. And we as the self, of course through the ankara, the false ego, we identify with the mind as ourself. Instead of identifying with the soul, we are identifying with the mind. And that's why the feeling that comes, the thinking, feeling, willing, we think this is me. If the mind tells me, I need this, I want this, then I say, yes, I need this, I want this. So that identification with the mind is the real problem. So when the mind is strong and brings up some material desires and strong urges, then we need to kind of learn to step aside and say, wait a minute, that's not me, this is the mind. No, these desires that come up, I'm different from these desires, I'm different from the mind. I'm not this body, I'm not the mind, I'm not these emotions. So that kind of inner distance we need to learn to take, otherwise, we're fully on this mana latena, on the chariot of the mind. So, in order to get off this platform of this chariot, we need to learn to distance ourselves from the mind and understand that we are different from it. And maybe in conclusion we can say, because it's quite interesting how the Manashiksha starts, there we find in the very beginning that Krishna Premarupa Dasa gives an interesting advice. He says, Guru Goshti Goshtali Yushushat Sushane Pusadakane Svamantre Shrinamni Vrajam Navayuvat Andvasharane Sadhatamba Hitva Kura Ratima Purva Atiraham Ache Svantra Bratas Chantivir Apiche Girita Padaham. O dear brother, O mind, having given up all pride, please develop unprecedented and excessive attachment to Sri Guru, to Sri Vrindavan, the abode of cows, to the devotee residents of Vrindavan, to all the devotees on this planet, to the confidential mantra given by Guru, the holy names of Sri Sri Radha Krishna, and the process of surrendering to the fresh, youthful couple of Braj, holding your feet, I beseech you, with sweet words. So that's the first instruction to the mind. Dear mind, please give up pride and please develop unprecedented and excessive attachment. And it's interesting because usually we speak of detachment, we have to detach, but here it says we should attach. So we attach first to the spiritual and then we can give up the material. That's Bhakti Yoga means first attachment. Attachment to the higher taste. And once we have a higher taste, then we can easily give up the lower taste. And here it says that one should develop attachment to the Guru, to Vrindavan, to the Brijbasis, to all the devotees on the planet, to the mantra, the Gayatri mantra, to the holy name, and to the process of Bhakti Yoga. One should develop a very strong attachment to these. And why should one do that? Because once we have attachment to these, liberation will be very close. Prasangam acharam pasham atmano kavayo viduhu sadhiva satushu krito moksha dvaram apavritam. Moksha dvaram, the door to liberation, will open. It says here, this is Kapila. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spiritual soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotee, opens the door of liberation. So if we are attached, that's the problem. We spoke about how the mind is the cause for the repeated birth and death, because the mind becomes attached and the mind develops so many desires, and then we have to take birth again and again according to the desires of the mind. But that same attachment, if that attachment is focused on the sadhus, or as Raghunath Das Goswami here says, Guru, Vrindavan, Brijbasis, devotees, Gayatri mantra, holy name, and so on, then if one becomes attached to these, then one will be certainly be able to overcome the cycle of birth and death. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, I think we'll end here. My mind is not functioning so well this morning. Or my intelligence is not functioning so well. So I think we better stop here. If you didn't know how I feel, I'm kind of a little bit not so good. Yes, any comments or questions? Okay, very good. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gopamanande Haribo.
Frische Luft.
Oh.
Кришны, в разуме Кришны, в интеллекте Кришны, говорят, в сознании Кришны.
Сознание, оно включает все. Сознание такое, которое все душа наша. Душа, это состояние ума и разума. Это все вместе, как бы, направлено на Кришну. Ум, разум, тело. А это которое, как бы, сознание сейчас душа. Ну да, это же ума и все.
Also sind sie trocken?
Oh, ich habe sie nicht kontrolliert. Ich glaube, Anna hat sie das letzte Mal gestern.
Das kannst du ganz schnell machen, indem du den Tag
Alles klar, Junge.
Wer?
Bis dann.
Ja, sicher. Nein, ich habe eine Frage, ob du schnell in den Topf kannst schauen, dann siehst du, wie der dann ist.
Ah. Gut. Du meinst, es geht wieder, gell? Die andere auch. Ja. Ja, ist nicht schade. Ist eigentlich gut.
Okay.
Ja, ist. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Rama,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare